ideally you build a business where you also start finding clients through other clients. Because if they're talented and they collaborate and things like that, then usually this person's talented or has that same sensibility that you also connect to. And you build a reputation for yourself. And maybe then when someone's looking for a new manager, maybe that agent's only calling 2 people.
We're opposites today. I'm feeling really refreshed, and looking at you, I can tell you're feeling a little like, ooh.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, is that spot on?
It's I'm grateful it's the weekend, but I'm exhausted.
Is it the weekend? I left on. I did a weekend during the middle of the week. I went Monday to Thursday. I went camping.
You went camping?
I went camping in Sequoia, which is about halfway between here and like San Francisco, like the big redwood trees, you know, those like the big 2,000-year-old ones, you know.
I grew up in New York City. I'm not a camper, but with that, so you drove up to.
I'm not a camper. My wife is. She grew up in Colorado and like spent time in Vermont in her childhood, so she's like a very outdoorsy person.
Yeah, but you took me rock climbing. You're an outdoorsy person.
Oh, I think I'm just an experienced person. I love experiencing things, you know. But no, it was nice. We got like a big tent and had like a blow up mattress, and really just I spent 3 days just sort of sleeping, reading books, and relaxing. And my phone was away, even though I did have reception up there for some reason, which is a little weird, and I was a little disappointed in that.
And you were sleeping in a tent.
I was sleeping in a tent.
No AC, just
no, it's like 60, like 65 in the middle of the day. It's cool. You know how to wear sweaters and everything. Got cold at night.
Did you shower? How did you keep your hygiene?
Wow, you've never been camping before.
Not a camper. I don't camp either.
No, there's no showers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my wife doesn't like that either, but. Yeah, you can like bring like wipes and then like, you know, just wipe yourself down, like baby wipes.
Like, what about animals?
Oh yeah, like no, they have, you know, you have to keep your food in like the bear boxes so the bears don't come, and like you have to like be, you know, food safe, and anything that smells strong you got to keep away from stuff. So there's like stuff you got to know and do, but it's pretty chill. It's pretty
this
nice.
was a recreational. This was a choice.
This was my break because I spent the last 2 months just like pushing with new content, and I took 5 days off or 4 days off and was like, let's go camping.
Oh, I'm proud of you. I'm going to Mexico City tomorrow, where we'll be, you know, in shelter with air conditioning and full.
I've heard so many great things about Mexico City, just like the food.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. But before we embark on, well, you just came back from a vacation, but I'm about to go on one. But before we do,
yeah,
super excited for
this. Is this the guest? Segue?
This is the one. This is the one. This is the guest. This is the
guest
of all guests.
Oh, the guest of all guests.
Guest of all guests. I've known her for, I think, 12 years at this point, since we were literally like out of the mailroom and assistants together.
Yeah, that is a long time.
And we
you
actually
were assistants together. You
yeah, our cubicles were right next to each other, and we experienced
way.
severe trauma for long durations of time together.
I can only imagine.
But she's went on to have an incredible career. She's she's a phenomenal talent manager at 3 Arts Entertainment, which is obviously, as you know, one of the biggest talent management production companies behind shows like The Office.
Oh yes.
Parks and Rec.
Of course.
Insecure.
Love that.
I mean, these are just a few of them. They've done so many of them, but I'm so excited to have her on because, as you know, and we always talk about here on the show, this business is shifting, and it's shifting quickly, right? And so the gatekeepers, which she is, right? What do they look for? Like, how has it affected her business?
Yeah.
And I'm also so curious is like, when you're in talent representation, talent has changed.
Right.
Right. So like, what does that look like for her as far as what she's looking for when she's scouting that next person, that next artist, that next creator?
Right. Ooh, I'm excited. I'm going to learn a lot.
I think it'll be great. I'm excited for you to meet her.
Great. Hey friends, I'm DJ.
And I'm Jesse.
And welcome to What is Hollywood, a show all about figuring out, where our entertainment industry, which is kind of in turmoil right now, is headed.
And today's guest, we have my dear friend, Nora May from 3 Arts Entertainment, one of the leading talent production management companies in our business.
I'm so
behind
excited.
shows like The Office, Parks and Rec, and Insecure, which is one of my favorite shows. Nora, thanks for being here.
Thank you guys for having me. You guys are a blast. I just kind of want to sit here and watch you, but please, thank you for welcoming me.
When
into this dynamic.
I first moved to LA, I guess too, I was looking up like management companies. Of course, 3 Arts always like, it's like you Google like, oh, what's the ones, 3 Arts is a prestigious company. So tell us, like, how did you go? Like, how did you find yourself to where you are now, a manager at 3 Arts? I
mean, I grew up on MTV. And
Okay.
HBO. So I only ever wanted to work in entertainment, and I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska originally, which obviously you can't really do that from there. So I graduated high school a year early and escaped to New York. And my way of escape was to go to theater school, which immediately wasn't for me. So I did, the 1 year and made some great friends.
Wait, theater school is in like for like theater, like acting or something like that?
Yes,
or?
So like a conservatory.
Okay.
Like purely that. And then figured out I needed to go to LA because that's kind of where, everything was. It's funny if I talk to friends now because I realize, obviously I was too young to be aware then, but that was the recession at that point, like the real estate recession. And actually at that point, film kind of dried up in New York and a lot of people left. So it was a good choice to kind of come out west. And I came out here and didn't know anybody and continued to work at, restaurants and talk to anybody I could and listen to as many interviews as I possibly could of, actors and producers and, people who had done it. And used the good old UTA list, which I think still exists.
She's referring to the UTA job list.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So what is that? Sorry, I actually do not know what that is.
It's just it's a job list that UTA, maybe their mailroom, I don't know, puts out. And there's always the email to kind of apply to join their mailroom, but then also just various internships and entry-level jobs.
Interesting.
Like on the executive and representation side. So I got my first internship through a roommate of mine. And from there kind of cobbled together these internships where I could be reading scripts or on set for a commercial PAing, or something like that and build a resume. And then landed my first assistant job where day one, I met Jesse. It was also day one for
Deeply
him.
terrified. It was my first day too, wasn't it?
It was
literally
on the first day.
Wow, what
God,
are
that's
the odds?
crazy.
That is pretty
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, and our cubicles were right.
And where was that? Was that
We're
at
day one. David Schiff's management company.
Got it.
Which is called MGMT.
Great shop. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got very lucky.
Incredibly impressive guy. And it was in the Soho House building, so I felt very cool.
It felt bougie.
driving in there every day. I'd never had a salary in my life. It had only been, restaurant pay. So that was very cool. And then from there, realized I kind of wanted to build on the lit side of things and really understand how things were produced, whatever that meant. And so rallied my friends to send me every job opportunity they could that was maybe related to lit, whatever that would be. And interviewed a few places and luckily ended up working as an assistant at 3 Arts. And I have been there ever since, both out of our LA office and our New York office. And it's an incredibly special place, and it's always changing and always growing, and it's full of intimidatingly smart people who I get to work with, which is very cool.
So you started like assistant. Oh no, mailroom. You said at David Schiff's sort of.
No, an assistant.
An assistant. Got it.
On a desk.
Got it. And how did you get that gig again? Sorry, did you say that?
UTA list.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's.
It
the
just
UTA
said
list.
someone's
Got
assistant,
it.
and I don't think this matters. You can cut it if it doesn't. But everybody's assistant's emails is sort of your traditionally like your initials and then the word assistant or some combination of that. So I saw the initials and then found that person's direct email and then emailed them. I still don't know if that
so
had
you
anything
were being
to
a
do
little
with
extra.
it.
You had some extra chutzpah.
But I emailed them directly. I believe I interviewed on a Monday, went back on that Wednesday for a second interview, and then was like hired on Friday.
That's amazing.
Wow.
to start that Friday or the following Monday.
But I think it's like we should note that you showed some initiative. Like you not only just applied for the job, but you also like went out of your way to be like, who is this person, and can I find their actual name and their email, and then you emailed them and directly, because like I think that's sort of important to note that you weren't just sort of like putting stuff out there and then sitting around and waiting for somebody to like call you back. You know?
Yeah, and
So
it was
true.
the same thing when you want to move companies. It's really stressful as an assistant because, you know, do you pretend you have a doctor's appointment? There's so many assistants. Like with my assistants now, if they don't want to work for me and grow with the company, I let them know you should be interviewing all the time. You should always take that meeting. I mean, let me know. But that fear that everybody had of, I can't let my boss know, or can they be a reference, or do I have to hide this when you're making no money and you're trying to like come up in an industry? Will this person be mad at me? That whole thing. I just think that that's a mess and hopefully doesn't happen anymore. But when I was doing it, it was still very real. And so, you know, you have to have your friends send things to your personal email and that, you know what I mean? All that stuff. And again, pretending you're going out of the office when there wasn't really Zoom at the time too, right? So like we went and met people in person. So also that next leap was, I think, more stressful then. And I just remember for that one that I made sure I had an opinion on every show that was on television, just in case I was asked, you know, something about it. And who knows what came up in the interview, but you kind of blank out in interviews, right? You're like, I don't even know what happened. But I just remember that I prepped as much as possible and thankfully said some smart things. And
You were always very serious. Like I remember, like I mean, there was like the personal side of you, which we would joke and banter, but then me and you both had like that game face whenever you were talking to the person you were working for, and it was like she just, you know, because it's not an easy job, and you're dealing with some really, I mean, kooky personalities, but she was great at always never letting. She never let anyone see how she was reacting, right? So like, and I thought you did a beautiful job of that, of like, never. It may have affected you if someone yelled at you or if someone, you know, had made life difficult, right?
Sure.
But you never really showed it externally, and I mean, that maybe a therapist would say that's an unhealthy thing, but I think in our business at that time, it was a very strong move, and I think it worked really well for her career.
Yeah. It sounds like, from just also my friends who sort of went through the same track, it sounds like really challenging in the hours you put in and the sort of sometimes even maybe like, I mean, I don't want to say abuse, but like you definitely take a lot from
you
people.
can say abuse.
You can
Yeah?
say it.
Okay, I didn't want to put that word
Well,
in your
that's
mouth,
the
I guess.
thing is I think we all hope, our generation hopes that is phasing out, and it's up to us to make it phase out. But that was still the time when, you know, bosses were supposed to yell at you, or it was good for you, or they were teaching you a lesson or something like that.
Okay.
And so that was still very real. Again, I really hope, I'd have to talk to more assistants these days, and hopefully that's phasing out. But that was just still something that was this strange, unethical badge of honor. But it did help you because a lot of people still went through it. So if you're going through it, it wasn't embarrassing, it wasn't shameful. It was just like, yep, this is my time now to get this, and this is what working in entertainment, you know, means.
And even more so, like when we were going through it, which was 2012. I mean, it was a pretty long time ago, but
Yeah,
like,
that's when I started my first YouTube channel.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she was one of the very few women that were even in these assistant and mailroom groups. You know, there really wasn't a lot of women, and there really wasn't a lot of people of color when we were starting out. And not to say do you think it's
Still
gotten better?
sadly
I mean,
the
what
fact.
do you? Yeah.
I think companies are trying, but companies are trying, people are trying, but you have to, you know, again, when we're looking for assistants, when we're looking to have interns, like I think it's a little more diverse under our age range. But for our age range, I think it's still pretty across the board, you know, what it was. But that's every industry, you know. People have initiatives that are sort of like, I think CA does a really good job of that, frankly, of the companies that I've seen.
Okay.
That's true.
So just coming back to the like trajectory of your career. So you assistant at at David Schiff's kind of company. Then how long did you do that for? Like how many years did you do that
10
before you
months.
shifted? 10 months.
Yeah.
Is that usual for a lot of like you know like
Well,
churn,
so
I guess, that way?
at 8 months, I made friends with this crew of assistants at one of the big agencies. And, you know, it was my first salaried job. So to my other friends that were in different industries, it was that whole, well, this is like your first permanent position. You have to give it 12 months to show that you can get hired for the next job and you don't just bounce around. And I think I said that to them at drinks one night and they looked at me like I was insane. And I'll never forget one of them, but they all agreed to this. They said, we start looking out for our second desk day one on our first. What are you talking about? Who are you waiting for? And I said, oh, is that how it works? I'm okay.
Okay, so people reached out to you now.
No, I had just that. It was two friends specifically that just, you know, because the agencies are still where all the information goes through.
Yeah.
And so I think if you're looking for a job at any stage, you should call your agent friends, your agent assistant friends, your agency mailroom friends. And I just said, send me anything that is, again, related to building a base in lit, right? Which leads to knowing how a show is put together, movies put together. And so they just sent me everything and I just applied to it all. And you know, production companies, you know, a script coordinator in a room, even though I didn't want to be a writer. And then you know, 3 Arts ended up hiring me and I kind of learned what the company was, I think, in the moment and after the fact, and got very, very lucky.
So how long did you work as assistant at 3 Arts before, you know, you were offered or became a manager?
2.5 years. Offered.
Is that how it works? I don't know how to get. Is
Offered a
that how it works? I have no idea.
I've never been offered anything in my career.
Why do you guys do this?
It's unbelievable. No one's ever like, hey man, you've done so well. We want to promote you. You're doing so much value.
You don't have any clients. You're not making money. Right. Would you like to get paid more and cost us more on our
Wait,
payroll?
so how did it happen then? Like, what's the how do you make that move for yourself then?
You have to build your business and or co-sign with managers, right? Bring them into someone. Hey, this person's great. Go and pitch them. Whatever they start signing, they give you the credit for it and everything, and then you have to get to a point, I think, with any promotion anywhere, I would say, where you have to say, you know, I really, really, really want to be here, but if you guys don't feel I'm right, then I have to go somewhere else.
But a lot of it is
you had
creating
the
leverage.
It's
creating
forcing the leverage.
You have
right?
to
You
always be
force the
interviewing for new
leverage.
jobs.
Right.
Like every 6 months, every 3 months. Again, I don't care if you're an assistant. I don't care if you're an executive. But you should always be taking the meeting and looking for things. I think other industries would tell you the same. I think people in tech and what, you know what I mean? There's that whole thing, especially these days with the younger generations of, we don't stay somewhere 25 years or 40 years. Like you should always be interviewing. I think there are other industries that go a little bit harder on that. But the reality is you kind of have to be able to say, I really want to do this and I think I'm ready. And here's why. I have 3 clients, I have 5 clients, and they've made money, or whatever the argument is, it's going to be different for every person. Again, companies are living, breathing organisms. So depending on who your boss is, depending on what that company's doing at that time, like it's just going to be different, right? You have to know the place that you are and what they're going through and how you might fit in or continue to fit into that culture.
It sounds like to me you have to have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit too, to sort of like, you know, create that leverage, look ahead, create your plans, you know, add value to the core business and that kind of stuff. And
management is, I would say, purely entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
I think for younger people listening at home, like my 2 cents is truly nobody owes you anything and nobody cares about you inside the office for which you're working. Your value to them is based off of solely the income you're bringing in financially or within the work that you're doing. That is what I've believed my whole career, unfortunately. I wish it was different. Maybe there's other businesses that are, but I think in our traditional linear media model, I've only found that to be true.
Yeah. Well, what's the metric by which your company grows? You have to add value to that metric.
Right.
Yes, right.
Which makes sense.
And that might be followers for you, but it might be money for us, right? But it's like but if you're not adding value,
right,
you're not here to be our friend.
And then how would how would that value be quantified or measured? Would it just be about like, okay, my clients are the ones that I brought in commissions? Yeah. It's pretty straightforward. Very interesting.
So you're always trying to make your best bet. Everybody is.
So let's talk about that then in terms of like finding clients and finding people you want to work with. Like, how do you do that? Like, has it changed in the last few years? You know, the way you go about that, is the qualities you're looking for changed, you know, like, could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, you know, the adage, that Hollywood's who you know, not what you know. I think it is what you know as well. But who you know, that matters. That's why.
Which is why you guys should be listening to this podcast.
You make friends as it's true. You make friends, you know, mailroom assistants, and I'm talking about if you're a writer, director, actor, digital rep, whatever whatever side you're on, right? It's your whoever you went to school with, you know, those kinds of things. And so that's who matters. Some people sign the people they went to college with,
right?
And they get really lucky, and that person's Cameron Diaz, you know, and then they can build their business off of that. Like sometimes it's just how many scripts can you read, how many people, how many drinks can you take, and just always be building and letting people. You're always like watching TV shows and looking for actors like on TikTok, online, and DMing people, you know, or emailing people, or just asking to read scripts, sitting with people. Hey, what's something great that you've read recently? Scouting the, you know, film festivals, if that's your business. But, you know, ideally you build a business where you also start finding clients through other clients, because if they're talented and they collaborate and things like that, then usually this person's talented or has that same sensibility that you also connect to, and you build a reputation for yourself. And maybe then when someone's looking for a new manager, maybe that agent's only calling 2 people and you get that call because you have. So it's the same sort of rhythm as I think being an artist, where you're putting your stuff out there, but eventually you want to get to the point where you have a reputation so that like people are calling you to go like play their show, to write that movie, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. It's the exact same rhythm of always selling and calling and emailing, but eventually you'd like to become a bit of an incoming business. You never rest on that, but it's very similar.
I like what you said about like in Hollywood, it's who you know, and that's true. But it's also even more so, who knows you, in the sense of when I'm gonna call 2 managers to, replace this, to get this artist a new manager, and I'm the agent, and I'm thinking of 2 managers. You want them to think of you. Because now that, you could take the coffee meeting with them, you know, whatever, but did they remember you?
Right.
Right. And I think it's like who you know, but also who knows you in the time that it actually matters. And she was always relentless. When we were younger, I mean, you were out 5 nights a week.
You have to be. I expect my assistant to be out 5 nights a week.
You know, she'd work the full 12-hour day and then go and have dinner or coffee or drink or, you know, till 9 at night.
Or people are out at comedy clubs. If you're scouting comedy, if you're in music, that's also the social part of it, where you're going out every night and that sort of thing. But every birthday you go to, you know what I mean? You have to be a person in the community.
It's not a job.
The community, it's like, what I'm hearing is a lot of communities, like community-based things. You go in a community and you sort of see what's up there, and then you sort of like, and so like, you know, would your advice to somebody who would love to work with somebody like yourself be to sort of like just put yourself out there a lot more, you know? And would that also include like TikTok, YouTube, that kind of stuff? Or is it more sort of like coming to LA and being in sort of in the LA community and sort of like, you know, sending your script, like, or is that
always a tough question?
Yeah, that's what we do here.
People that
ask the tough questions.
Here at What is Hollywood, we hit you with the hard ones, you know?
Well, I never want to be like, uproot your life and come to LA, but I also can't. That feels to me like advising somebody on, you know, divorcing their spouse or not. Like, I don't want to give a say either way, because in either way it goes, they're gonna. But part of that question, I'm sure absolutely butcher or try to paraphrase something that a clip that I saw of Rick Rubin recently, and what he said was basically that he sees his, I'm not comparing myself to Rick Rubin, let's get real clear, but just what he sees his job as is you're like basically trying to coax out of the artist. The artist has something to say, something to offer, and kind of what is that? So to your question about what an artist can do, I say regardless of me being part of the equation at all, if ever, is you should have something to say enough that you want to put it out there. So however that is, I think that's what I think is important to me, is that it's always going to be something to say. And it could be through writing, again, acting, stand up. You could be a really great cook and you decide to make a TikTok. You could be a chef in the Hamptons, some of my favorite people, and build that into a business. But like, she had skills. That, to me, that was still something to say. That's an artistry. Like, that's an art form. So overall, it's just sort of being compelled that that's just a part of you, and you found that out, and it really is a part of you. So that's, I know it's a labor of love sometimes, and I'm sitting on the other side saying this, but that to me is really where it all starts with, is like, do you have enough to say that this is your life because it's who you are?
That's a really great answer, by the way. Thank you for you answered the difficult question really well, and I think that makes so much sense to me, because you don't want to just find a person who's skilled at a certain thing, like what to say and how you can scale that and add to that and help that person say that. Like that makes a lot of sense.
That's true.
That's really at the core of the value that an artist provides, right? Like what are you adding? What are you saying? And yeah, I love that.
I actually think the YouTube, TikTok whole thing actually expands what she's really talking about is like the authenticity, right? Of like, this person has to have something that they want to say and deliver on that message, because that's what she's resonating with, right? And for so many years, 100 years, literally, if you wanted to be in the arts, it meant moving to LA so you could attempt to be in the room with the people that were making the deals. But like, I give the chef in the Hamptons as an example. If you take that chef out of the Hamptons, part of the thing that was a really cool and fun to watch about it was being a part of the setting and the backdrop of that. I've seen that chef, and it's amazing.
Wishbone Kitchen, my favorite. Shout out, you're amazing. Love your recipes.
Right?
she's so great. Got me through COVID.
If she moves to Los Feliz because she wants to be in LA to get the job, it's going to remove part of the authenticity.
But that's thanks to the internet.
Yeah.
That's thanks to the internet for allowing people to. It even used to be that people would come up on SNL, come up on late night shows, come up in theater in New York, and then eventually move to LA. And I have clients in New York that want to and will and can stay in New York, because now granted it's tougher if you want to come out and like work on a show, but if you're, writing and working out there, again, you have to be visible. Sort of like you're saying, people have to know you. Whether you're a journalist or you put stuff out on Twitter or you're a stand-up comic, or I still think you have to be engaging and available to the public to find you, and kind of keep growing what you're doing. And then I never say people are sort of moving over to traditional and moving over. I just say expanding, because I never expect people to stop writing books, writing plays, like doing whatever they're doing. Again, working on late night shows, but then how can you kind of play out here a little bit more, hopefully on your own terms? Because I think that we view our jobs, and again, I can only really speak to the company that I grew up in that ethos, but like, our job is to advocate for artists at the end of the day. Our job is to make sure that people stay artist friendly, and like, we are here because of our clients. It's not the other way around. Like, we're never the star of the show. And so we're always there going, how can you make that next thing, do that tour, put that video out? Because we want people to be able to just continue to engage with this business on their own terms and try to sidestep the gatekeepers. At least that's where I come from, and I think most of my colleagues do, is encouraging to always write that next thing, make that short film, whatever it is, because then you just have something else that you've done. And then when you have the meetings, it's less of, oh my gosh, I hope this person opens the door for me.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I just want to go back to like the sort of like, what do you have to say kind of thing? Because that's something that I think can often be like, I feel like what I'm hearing there too is a person that has something to say and has figured out what that is and is sort of doing that, regardless of where they're doing that, will attract your attention and probably also weeds out people who, in like, they're, in LA, particularly maybe, who are just sort of here because they want to be in the entertainment industry and do like whatever they can to get someone like yours attention, right? Or sort of make this thing, but like, you're looking more for that sort of core sort of voice, I think, more than sort of the person who's just trying to build a career. Does that make sense? Oh,
yeah. I mean, I have to read or watch and and feel emotionally connected to the work. And emotionally connected could be, laughing, but I have to see that they're, it's really, I always say, like, it's not light work. I know how much work goes into everything and every little bit and every little video, and every time you get up on stage at UCB and every time you get up and you open that screen and it's a blank page, like I know how much work that is, and I have such high respect for that. And so, I don't want to engage with someone if I don't get emotionally connected. And by the way, that's completely subjective.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm not right to work with someone, it's not a knock at all. And I truly, truly mean that. I'm just like, I want you to win. And there are so many partners out there. Or if you feel like you really are the right partner, then you're like, okay, yes, let's do this. Let's meet. Here's what I can do. But like that passion's real because it's so much work. You know what I mean? So I've got to be able to call and say, this person's fantastic for all of these reasons. I think you should really love them. Or I think you would really love them. But if people don't, I kind of have to think, agree to disagree, but you're wrong. You know what I mean? Not like, oh man, they probably are right. That executive is right. That pass was right. Whatever. It's like, you're not getting it. Like, this person's a genius. This person's great, and hear why. And maybe I should have called this person instead. You have to have that. Otherwise, you know what I mean? I'm not the right person for the people I'm working with, and that's disrespectful.
So have you ever had that moment though where, well, actually I have two questions for you. Like, this is interesting. I've also never talked to a manager in this kind of thing. So now I'm okay, like, this is, hopefully you guys are like, I'm usually on the other side, just taking meetings and that kind of stuff. And managers intimidate me. There's something about managers that have always intimidated me. So I'm trying to get over that. My therapist will be very happy about this. I have a lot to talk to her about. My appointment's on Thursday. So hold on. Let me just gather my thoughts. I have two questions for you. One,
this is your moment, VJ. This is your moment.
Oh, would love to hear your questions for us too in a second. Do you when you take on a client, okay, when you are like, oh, this person has something to say, do you ever think about like trends creatively, like, oh wow, they would really fit in right now? Because sometimes I can imagine, this might be me getting really in the weeds, but like I can imagine obviously building someone's career, like say a writer or a director, like can take years, like it's not like they sign with you and suddenly it's like, like it doesn't really happen. So, and obviously there are trends in media and writing, the way, what works with audience, what doesn't works. And they're does that ever play into your factor? It's like, wow, I think the way everything's going right now, this person's voice will be, like right now I might have a hard time maybe, but I think the direction of media and like trends and sort of storytelling, like I'm thinking, for example, I watched like the Deadpool 2 movie recently. That movie is the most self-referential like it doesn't stop, right? And it's sort of like it's a style I think of filmmaking that's super popular right now, right? So like, do you ever like listen, oh, this will fit in really, really well right now, versus maybe in like 5 years you're like, I don't know, does that ever happen to you where you sort of find somebody and you're like, maybe the trend that makes them special right now or like makes them hit right now to you might not be existing in 5 years. Does that make sense? It's a question.
It does. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen in 5 years or 3 months, right? So I would say there are a couple of facets to what you asked, and I appreciate that. And I would say, you might find someone you're interested in or get sent somebody and take a look at them, take a look at their credits, take a look at whatever, and sort of want to be that person. But then you take a look at their work and it's just, again, it's not really emotionally connecting. Not a good thing, not a bad thing. And I think I would never waste a person's time with someone whose work I wasn't really, really excited about. I think a colleague said this to me a number of years ago when I was younger, and we were considering a writer and sort of on the fence. And, they just said, when I sign someone, I always want to make sure it's someone that I would be excited to bring up in a staff meeting and advocate for internally. And I think that's a kind of other check box sort of thing where it's like, oh yeah, would I bring this person up? But they sort of fit in here. Would I be excited to talk about their wins and all of those things? I also think it's kind of a good thing that all these trends change, because somebody could write something really, really wonderful and have a great idea for a show or a movie, and it doesn't sell. And what we all believe is that material is never dead. it might not be the moment for that, but if it's because people are afraid or it's too small or
I
it's
love
too
that.
this or whatever. So I always say, I know it's frustrating if we didn't, take it out and sell it now, but this is fantastic. And so keep it, I think it was the L Word that took years and years and years to sell. You know what I mean? People have, you pull up those stories from all over the place, some script they had. There's I think a pilot that just sold to Apple. And it was the writer's first, by the way, she probably rewrote it over the years, I don't know, but it was her first sample script that ever got her staffed. So I think those cycles are a good thing. I think that obviously you can't tell how long a career is going to be, right? People have to, the ideal massive career is that they grow into their own brand.
And that's why I find it so exciting about the internet stuff today, because you can more easily build a brand because you have direct to consumer kind of access with YouTube and TikTok and that kind of stuff. Okay, follow-up question though to all that. We talked about how you find a new client or a new writer, director, or something like that. Tell us a little bit about, if you can, about the sort of, have you ever broken up with somebody, been like, listen, it's not really working out for some reason, what's the other end of that?
Yeah, it happened to me 3-4 years ago. We tried for a little bit there. It just, unfortunately, I wasn't her type.
I love Jesse. I'm dying to work with Jesse again, but in a capacity that actually helps him. He's the best. That's the thing, but you just want to be able to help people.
Right.
I always think it's like any relationship where there's no doubt that it's kind of not working. I always say I have a certain opinion about maybe what somebody should be doing. And if they want to do this other thing, if they want to take a different next step and we're just kind of at an impasse, then I feel like I'm standing in that person's way. Because I don't know if I'm right. I think my instincts are right and this is what I would do. But if they want to do something completely different, or sometimes people's, abilities change or they start doing this or their business pivots. And so it can be a tough conversation, but also, in management, there's no poaching.
Right.
And so I always, if you're with me as a manager, you might be stopping yourself from finding that next manager because they're not going to call or they shouldn't call or reach out, if you're with someone. I surely don't. And so for management specifically, agencies are different. But I always think people should also, it's not about having representation. It's about doing the work and continuing to get better and putting it out there.
Yeah.
So you should never be afraid to be, in between. It's like if the relationship's not working for you, it's better to be single.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I remember for me, one of the hardest things I ever did was, not ever did, but it was a big challenge. I had a manager and it was not working out. He was with a relatively big company as well. And I won't mention his name, but, it was really hard for me to sort of I realized there was a moment, it's I kind of had any value to you, you kind of had any value to me. And so it was an inevitable kind of little death that happened. That was extremely hard to talk about though. Right?
Also, we get broken up with too.
Right.
Don't make this one-sided.
Well,
I don't have all the power.
I'm sure that happens. Yeah.
It's that's always happening, right? And that's awful when it happens on the rep side.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give our example, which was, I worked in a.
Oh, you guys actually did. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was. No, please continue.
Well, it's a great. I mean, it's a fun story. But basically, I worked in the traditional system. I was head of development for Marlon Wayne's company, which she was, by the way, amazing. She actually got me the interview, right? But then a couple of years later, I raised the $2 million to start my own company. And when I did that, I needed help from a representation standpoint. And Nora was amazing, supported what we were trying to build. And she was pivotal in the sales that we made to Disney with Lawrence Fishburne and the Cookies and Milk show about Famous Amos. And she literally spearheaded the sale of the Netflix movie we did with Omar Epps that we sold, right? And then my business got to a place where COVID hit and my financier backed out of the business. Well, at that point, I'm not going to be as helpful as a client as I could be to bring product for her to help sell, right? So it wasn't just... and then I went back into the system and went to go work as vice president to McGee's company in a more traditional model where I'm working for another company.
Right.
So because of that, it had nothing to do with us as a relationship. It had to do with the stability of my career at the time and me knowing that without the capital coming in, I wouldn't be able to sign the projects that would make her life easier to help sell together. So it was like it wasn't a breakup. It was more just like a not right now, because we both felt like it was the best usage of our time would be doing something different for the moment, you know. But I think that was our story, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's really, there's so many parallels between dating, but it is nice to stay friends with clients, stay in touch with clients. It's such a hard business. I don't want to stand in anybody's way. I want everybody to win. We all do. And so if they're going to go do something else or whatever it is, it might come back around. You might end up producing with that person. You know, maybe you have a show and you used to represent them when they were, you know, a young writer, and now they're a showrunner, and you have a show and they're with somebody else, but they would be the perfect person for this, and you bring a project to them. So I think that as hard and negative as the business could be, it really is helpful, and it is correct to think about everything that happens like as a positive thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just change. And it feels like it's, if you're, you know, no one likes being broken up with, so to speak. But ultimately, if that's just the best thing for what people need, that's great. And then you can stay in touch with them and cheer them on. You know, it's just, it's a better position to cheer you on from over here than this right now. Exactly like Jesse said.
Yeah, so I'd love to talk a little bit more with you about what you're seeing now change in the industry, you know, and how you're adapting to that, and if you're doing anything differently, you know. Obviously, we hear a lot about sort of like, you know, right now it's a pretty bad time in this industry, a lot of layoffs and insecurity, and what's the phrase again? Survive to 25, that kind of stuff, right? 2025. Like, how do you feel about that? Is that affecting you and the core, you know, what you do in your business and your sort of day-to-day life? And how is that changing for you? Like, what's your experience of all that now?
I think since I've been in this industry, it's never not changed. Every 6 months.
So for you, this is just like, just the
It's
next
been
wave
bad
of
for a
craziness.
long time.
It's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't have a 20-year history of going, the good old days used to be
Right.
X, Y, and Z, right? I mean,
Well, question though, do you feel
true
like,
answer. That's not, I'm not
no, I believe you.
sidestepping
No, I
the
believe
answer.
you. No, I believe you. And it's sort of like, I think it just sort of shows that earlier you were talking about how tough this industry is. Like, it's such a tough industry to begin with. So like in many ways, like, you know, these waves crashing against it, I guess might feel, well, question I have for you though is new media, for example, like digital media, YouTube, like has that affected, like, are you feel like, you know, has that affected how you're structuring deals, how you're looking at clients, how you're building businesses, how you're doing all that kind of stuff, or not really?
It's not yet affected structuring deals, but I am chronically online and very open about it. TikTok's never not running. And so I would say on the positive end, I'm just so much more excited by the people that I find on TikTok. And sometimes I forget to put my work hat on and DM them right away. And then sometimes I don't, and I do DM them right away. But I think that I try to follow, for better or worse, what's getting my attention, because I don't want to just be beholden to something because that's how it used to be. I want to be like, just as a person living in the world. When I'm stressed, when I want to have fun, when I want to be entertained, when I want to be comforted, like, what am I going to, right? And I think that it's interesting because I think things like, this is obviously not a blanket statement, but, you know, horror or genre or a Game of Thrones type show, I don't really think TikTok's, I know there are horror shorts and things, which is why I'm saying I don't want to speak to everything, but comedy has always been much easier to access at like a lower budget and like a shorter time span, and maybe more competitive with traditional. Whereas when you have the sort of epics, the dramas, you know, the emotion, again, the horror, the spectacle, that I think will always be in traditional, just because of what you need to craft that type of thing.
I love what you're saying, because I struggle with that so much. Because like, I do musicals on the internet, right? And I like, everything we do is comedy. But I'm not I'm not a, like, you know, like, that's not really.
But you do have a sense of humor.
I do have a sense of humor, and I can do it. I've, like, you know, done it for like a long time, made lots of videos, that kind of stuff. But like, every time I try something that's a little bit different on the internet, I'm like, oh, you know, it just doesn't work and it hasn't hit that much. And I relate so hard to that, by the way, because it's like really, it's very challenging for people outside of the comedy space on the internet to make a career. I just want to put that out there.
I mean,
like,
CW gave you the chance with when you did
yeah, but that was a
CWs.
comedy. It was a comedy. It was a comedy. It's about a vampire who's like, he's not your typical vampire, you know, and it was a comedy
comedic,
show, you know.
yeah.
So like, yeah. So anyways, I relate to that specific part a lot because literally me and my team are talking about that. How can we like, you know, make it a little bit more dramatic, or like how can we, you know, hook, you know, in the first 3 seconds of a video on YouTube or TikTok, you need to be like extremely clear about what you're doing and extremely clear about what the expectations are. Much easier to make a song about overthinking than it is about like, you know, feeling lost in your early 20s, mid 20s, something like that, because that needs time and space to breathe and all this kind of stuff. So sorry, this is just like, it's so real for me.
That just made me think, and I was a little bit late to the party with him, so I haven't gone back and watched his early online videos, but I just think Bo Burnham's an absolute
yeah.
genius.
Bo Burnham,
God, I
yes.
love Bo Burnham.
Yeah.
I mean, Inside will always, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
getting chills.
Guy deserved an Oscar. I mean, it was insane.
Burnham.
It's unbelievable. So again, I can't speak to his early videos, but I imagine he always had something to say, right?
Yeah.
And it goes back to, you know, the marketing term, right? Like hiding the vitamin in the candy, which, by the way, even if you're making The Last of Us, which is dramatic, there, you know what I mean? There's always that human element, that human message that, you know, we're not watching like a public service announcement, so it has to be entertaining. So I think that no matter what you do, right, every horror movie has to work, really, really work as like an emotional drama, right? Because the horror element, the thriller element is a metaphor for something. And so I think no matter what you're doing, to go back to artists saying something, there's a message. But what's the lens through which you do that? Is it comedy? Do you lead them in with that? And then is there a final line? You know, that pop music.
Yeah.
Pop music does it all the time.
all the time. Yeah.
You know, like that's what it's about, right? It's always really emotional stuff, but then you're not listening to Charlie XCX talk about like, you know, her family tree being screwed up and all bad apples, because you're just like bopping along to like right to the core, and then you're like, what is this about? Billie Eilish is a little more about being a sad girl, you know, but I just think that I think that's the job no matter what.
Yeah.
Chocolate covered vitamins.
Right.
Chocolate covered vitamins.
Chocolate covered vitamins.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of the approach that we take at Pixel Playhouse too. It's like, you know, it's like I love doing videos through Disney princesses because I can get away with it. It's the internet still, right? And there's so much cultural context with Disney princesses, you know, and that one can talk to about sort of like societal things. There's a reason these characters are so like important in culture. So like that's why a lot of creators will sort of often tackle those things. Yeah.
Is there an area that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about?
Yeah. Is there? What time is it? It's almost.
We're
It's
getting
11.
close to wrapping up.
Yeah. Is there something that you is there something that you wish people would know more about yourself or managers in general in this industry that you don't think people out there know?
I will say one thing which is why I'm so interested in people who do put themselves out there on, again, it could be stand-up, it could be a chef, it could be there's a million things you can do, right, to be entertaining. Podcasts, I love them. I listen to podcasts all the time, and that market is coming back, right? Like a dip for a beat, and the deals are coming back, which is great. But I know all the hateful comments that come with building a following and with all the positive comments, and people don't talk about it. And anybody that I see who has built an audience or continues to build an audience or continues to put themselves out there, I know the people that are too scared to do that. And I respect that as well, and I understand it. But I think that that's what's exciting about people who interact online, because it's just really never easy, and there are a million rabbit holes that anybody could go down. And so, you know, I'm not going to maybe bring that up in a signing meeting, but like I know it's there, and not just, we were talking earlier about maybe how difficult it is to advocate for yourself on our side of things coming up continuously, but artistically to keep having the vulnerability that you need to make people connect with you, which is the emotional connection I was talking about, no matter the art form you kind of thread it through. I just feel like those people already have maybe what it takes to deal with the gatekeepers and all of the mess. Some days probably better than others, but I do want to say that because I feel like it doesn't get spoken about enough, and I just know the strength that takes for people. So I want to commend that, and that's something that I respect and look out for.
It was beautiful.
God, I'm so glad you decided.
But it's
to do
true,
this.
right? You're on the internet.
Yeah, it's
I'm sure
so
it's
challenging.
awful.
It's so challenging, and it's like I almost get a little teary-eyed. And it's nice. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's nice for me to hear somebody say that because it's like my experience was when I first started trying to come into the traditional industry from new media, people didn't really see that, right? They like it's not like it wasn't very evident that those rabbit holes, that kind of like, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's a very entrepreneurial thing, right? And, you know, startups fail all the time. And it's like starting a, you know, digital brand is essentially being a startup, right?
Yeah.
So I love that you're saying that. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah. It's really hard to do what you guys do.
Yeah. I think it's hard to do what you do.
Appreciate that. It's hard to do what we all do.
And on that beautiful note of it being really hard to do what we all do, I think
Let's go do it.
let's go do it. But I'm so thank you for coming, Nora. This was
Thank you,
awesome.
It's been
I'm
wonderful.
Grateful to
Love
you.
you.
I love
This
you
was
too.
so much fun.
God, so nice. I can't wait to hug her when this is over.
Yeah, you need hugs today, bro.
I know I need a lot of hugs.
do need a lot of hugs.
This is
hugs
LA.
and
I love
caffeine.
hugs. I hug every new person
Yeah.
I meet.
I'm always a little shy. Like some people don't like to be hugged. I'm always like, I always offer it. Like,
Yeah, you
and then,
always
and
do
then some people
this.
come,
I know,
You're always
this-
like,
yeah.
and then they're like, they can decide. You know what I'm really bad at though? Sorry, this is a end of episode. one, too. Among men, maybe it's because I spend more time in like sort of a more, I don't know, feminine space, but like definitely musicals and storytelling like that. It's like this whole like.
Oh, the dapping. You're not
I'm
a
like,
good dapper.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I always get a little awkward. Like, you
It's
know, about that.
choreography when I see it.
Yeah, it feels
It's
right. This-
two humans coming together in that perfect.
The
As a
whole-
woman, I don't have to engage in that, but I am impressed when I see it.
Me too, and it's intimidating.
Right?
Like, and it's a whole thing. It's like the sound that this makes, you know. And then Jesse's like, "That's my everyday."
So I'm phenomenal at it. I'm an
Of course
incredible
you are.
dapper.
You gotta teach me.
So it is.
That's why this works.
Yeah.